And thank you very much. We welcome you to the Crescent City and the campus of Tulane University in New Orleans for an American Conference athletic matchup tonight, the opener for the Green Wave, and it's presented to you this evening by Hulu. Memphis in town, one of the most explosive and exciting offenses in the nation, coming to New Orleans. And the Green Wave about to take the field here on a rainy evening just off the Gulf. And we welcome you inside our booth. Along with Olivia Decker and Kelly Stauffer, I'm Dave Lamont. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a year ago, Kelly, that Tulane upset Houston here. Took a lead in the halftime and held on. They can win in this building, but this is not going to be easy tonight. What is the formula for scoring this upset?
Well, when you play Memphis, the table is really set by Memphis's offense. It affects the entire game. Tulane defensively, they have to turn the ball over. It's called stealing possessions. And Tulane offensively, they have to possess the football and be a whole lot more efficient than they've had on the year so far. Well,
the guy who's been dictating offense for Memphis is not necessarily their quarterback, although he's a good one, but the nation's leading rusher. What a spectacular year for somebody who remade himself in the offseason, and Darrell Henderson.
And he literally has done that. Darrell Henderson is a terrific story. A guy that's very humble. He's the hardest worker on the team. Small town Mississippi has really molded this young man into who he is. He's had to give up his mama's strawberry shortcake, gained muscle mass. And yeah, absolutely. But it's the yards after contact. He's an electric guy, Dave. He does a lot of things after he touches the ball, a lot of things between the tackles, but eventually he can gash you. He has breakaway type speed. He's very patient. He has the vision, and he's a complete back, which is probably what I like best. He absolutely will stone blitzers, and he does all the little things right. He's a great advocate for college football this day and age.
Leads in rushing, leads in yards per game, has 6 runs of 50 yards or more. He has been absolutely spectacular for the Memphis Tigers, and with a small sample size too. He doesn't get the ball 25 times a game. And Tulane will be getting the football first. That means Jonathan Banks will start the game at quarterback, but Olivia Decker, you've got some intel and things may be changing here.
That's right, Dave. A true quarterback competition begins tonight for the Green Wave. As you said, Jonathan Banks will start, but if he struggles, we're going to see LSU transfer Justin McMillan. Now, he did come in a bit at the end of the Ohio State loss last week, but coaches just feel like now he has enough grasp of the offense to actually compete for the job. He played sparingly in 2 games for LSU last year, but guys, he only got to the Tulane campus 5 days before their first game. Coaches are excited about him as a passer specifically. He has good pocket presence and has a quick release, so there's no exact plan in place for tonight, but it's Jonathan Banks' job to lose. Coaches want him to make better decisions and improve ball security in the run game. That being said, the quarterback competition does start tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely sounds like that, Olivia, and I've been in that situation on both ends of it. And so Jonathan Banks, basically what you talked about, Olivia, has to make better decisions, specifically in the run game. It's exactly what Willie Fritz builds his entire program on, is the ability to run the option out of the gun, and he needs better decisions out of Banks. And if we don't see that, Justin McMillan is definitely a better passer, but I'm not sure it brings that much more to the run game, which is Willie Fritz's wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's what he built a brilliant coaching career on, one of the winningest coaches out there in college football, and one of the youngest right there, but off to a fantastic start. Mike Norvell, 21-9 already, most in school history in 2 years, and he'll have most in school history in 3 years if they win tonight.
Yeah, and right on the cutting edge of everything offensively, and runs a tremendous program in Memphis, and they're one of those group of 5 teams certainly to keep your eye on as this season plays out.
So as Met Leather, we're underway here at Yeoman. Back deep, Amari Jones will watch that sail over his head. We'll get the ball to the 25 and bring out the former Kansas State Wildcat Jonathan Banks, a senior out of Humboldt, Texas. And also keep an eye on Corey Dauphine. We talked quite a bit about Henderson, but this guy is also spectacular. Look at this speed. This is 2014, the IUL 5A Texas State Championship in the 200 meters. And as Chris Berman would say, look at him go. He ran also, besides that, he gets a billboard, by the way, in his hometown. He ran for Tulane on a third-place team on the 4x100 relay, the 2018 American Track and Field Championships, with teammates Devin Glenn and Jatavian Tolles. Right now, though, Darius Bradwell will start the game at tailback. Banks is going to keep it, and Banks gets a good block downfield and runs it for about 12, almost 13 yards on the opening play of the game.
And that's exactly what we talked about at the open. Jonathan Banks has to be a willing and effective runner of the football. That's what this offense calls for, that Willie Fritz runs, and he has been reluctant to do that. He's been somewhat reluctant in his decision making. He has to be able to run the football effectively if Tulane has a shot at this one tonight.
This time he'll fake to Bradwell. Toss out's going to be caught by Darnell Mooney. Mooney will have a first down and thrown out of bounds at around the 43-yard line in Tiger territory by Jacoby Francis, who's starting over Tito Wyndham at corner tonight. So Jonathan Banks seems like a lot of quarterbacks. He's been all over the place lately. You think of Blake Barnett at USF. This is very similar. Was at Kansas State, did well at Independence, and is now here in NOLA. Fake a little handoff again. That's Mooney, and he just flat dropped it. 2nd and 10 coming up.
We've already seen a couple of run-pass options, which we can talk about as this game goes along. But Willie Fritz's offense is played out of the gun. It's an option offense, a lot of quarterback read stuff, reading the in man on the line of scrimmage. And instead of the triple option, now it's a lot of the RPO stuff that's in vogue in college football currently.
Now Dauphine is in at number 6 in the black jersey. He'll stay in, and now the pass goes to the left, and that's another bobble by Mooney. It'll be 3rd down and 10. Now they're hoping to get Corey Dauphine about 10 to 15 carries. He has not touched the ball yet, didn't even start the game. But he's averaging almost 12 yards per carry, and as soon as we start talking about him, he checks out.
And that's what really has to change, to be honest with you. He has legitimate kind of international track type of speed, and you got to get playmakers the ball in space. That's what this game of football is about currently, especially at the college football level.
Interesting change at left tackle. Noah Fisher, the former South Alabama Jag, is not starting at left tackle. The handoff here to Hutterson, and Hutterson, the 3rd running back already used in this game, gains 11, and another first down on 3rd and 10. They go to the ground. Dorsey is on the stop. And
a good decision in that run game that we talked about. Jonathan Banks has been hesitant in this part of the game. He's going to read the in-man on the line of scrimmage as number 55, Huff, works upfield to the quarterback. It's a simple give read, but you have to be decisive. You can't let the defensive side of the ball lead you into being hesitant as the quarterback and the decision maker.
Again, fake to him, long throw. Mooney hangs on this time, and he has been the only target at the moment for Jonathan Banks. And Mooney gets inside the 30 to the 27-yard line. So you're looking at 2nd down and about 4.
And it's a nice little concept. It's zone run inside, read by the quarterback Jonathan Banks, and then you have a flat and a slant outside, and that's the pass part of the RPO. And right now I really like Jonathan Banks' disposition. He's making very, very good reads, being very decisive early in this one.
Memphis hinting at a blitz. Here they come. Handoff. Bradwell goes right by the blitzer. And it's the blitzer, actually, Austin Hall, who ended up slowing him down long enough to allow Curtis Akins to make the stop. But the chains keep moving. Another Tulane first down. Time for the impact players chosen specifically for you by Kelly.
Well, we've talked about one of them. Darnell Mooney is one of the 2 receivers, and Onkalad is the other one. 2 really good guys outside, and they're going to be matched up against a secondary that's trying to find their way. But Jonathan Wilson is this kind of the linchpin on the defensive side that has to be a source of pressure on Jonathan Banks tonight.
And a handoff, Bradwell. Not very much that time. The Memphis defense rises up. Also about a 1-yard pickup there. So 2nd and 14. Akins in there again. He is on the Bednarik preseason watch list. The redshirt senior, number 7. Another Mississippi native. Memphis, of course, not terribly far from Mississippi.
And one of the things the defensive coordinator from Memphis Chris Ball talked to us about is he doesn't want an offense to be able to play keep away from his own offense. And right now, Tulane is doing a very, very good job of that on this opening drive of this game.
Yeah, it's the 10th play coming up. Dolphine back into the tailback. Fake to him, over the middle. There's Mooney one more time. And he's trying to get inside the 10. There's a giant scrum, and they end up at the 9-yard line. 16-yard gain, and right now, Darnell Mooney is the dominant receiver.
Yeah, Jonathan Banks is doing a very good job in the RPO scheme, sticking it in the belly of the running back. If the defensive linebacker, in this case, reacts up, you have a slanted behind him. And it has to be a very quick, decisive read, and Banks is doing a very good job of it thus far early in this one.
He's targeted Mooney 5 times. Mooney's caught 3 for 44. Dolphine inside to the 5, fighting down to about the 2-yard line before John Tate finally wrestled him down. And a little bit of help also from Tyrese Lindsey.
Memphis defensively is completely on their heels, which is kind of the nature of the way offenses are playing now in college football. But Willie Fritz's way is to establish the run, the option inside the box with the inside zone, and then expand it as you need to. And you have to have a quarterback that's confident in dealing it and distributing the playmakers, and Banks is doing a nice job on this one.
2nd and goal. Touchdown, Green Wave. Corey Dolphine, for the 4th time this year, finds the end zone.
Well, we talked about the answer to beating Memphis's high-powered offense and all the points that you would probably have to score. Well, this was one of them. An efficient offense that possesses it, and you can see right now that that was an 11-play, 75-yard drive that was just short of 6 minutes. That's how you beat potent offenses. You keep them on the sideline.
Memphis, good kick blocking team. They can't get to that one from Merrick Glover, however, and an absolutely perfect start for the Green Wave. And look how much time they took off the clock as well, executing that drive in over 5 minutes. Dolphine finds 6. So the Green Wave gets off to a fantastic start in these rainy conditions at Yulman Stadium. 11 for 75 and 544. And playing keep away is one of the best ways to beat Memphis for sure, with a crazily explosive offense. And you don't want this guy touching the ball if you're the other team. And what's really weird this year, he has 6 returns lifetime for touchdowns. He's had 1 return this year for -2 yards. And an onside kick is attempted, and it's looked like recovered by Memphis. Willie Fritz told us he was going to mix it up. He did, but it backfired, and the Tigers will get field position at the Tulane 47. The recovery made by Austin Hall.
Well, that's one way to keep it away from Tony Pollard, and a very heads-up play by the nickel safety in Austin Hall. He stiffed it out pretty early because Austin Hall was directly looking at the kicker, and he knew something was up, and it absolutely was. A really heads-up play by Austin Hall.
So Darrell Henderson does come out at running back, joined by the quarterback, the former Arizona State Sun Devil, Brady White. And there goes Henderson, and he could score on this play right here. 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Tigers. But Kelly, that was only 47 yards, so it does not add to his NCAA best over 50.
And you see the ability for Memphis to score in the blink of an eye, and conversely, Tulane's going to have to possess the ball. But it's inside zone. You kick out of the in-man on the line of scrimmage, and you just pound it up in there with a really electric running back in Darrell Henderson. That did not take but a hiccup.
It lasted 10 seconds, and so I've had hiccups last longer than that. So, just like that, the Green Wave will get the ball back. They may need another 5-minute drive to keep this guy off the field. Proud to say that I have worked with that man right there, a deserving Hall of Famer for college football, and of course to be saluted at Tulane as well. Our friend Mac Brown, and hopefully Mac is watching tonight, getting ready for studio work on Saturday. Great guy to hang out with. Gotta tell you. Now, we did the math during the break, and Darrell Henderson has just upped his yards per carry to nearly 13.
Of course he did. He gave up Mom's strawberry shortcake. It's got to show up somewhere, and it's showing up big time on the field. I mean, that guy is a dynamic, electric runner, and he didn't even have to break many tackles there. Wait until he starts having yards after contact.
Looks like we're headed to another touchback over Amari Jones's head. It's unbelievable this early in the season to have a game that means so much to the college football playoff. In the meantime, back to go to Tulane, continuing to run the ball well. That's a 6-yard pickup for Darius Bradwell. Bryce Huff in there on the stop. Let's check in with Olivia.
Yeah, guys, Maria Taylor is the reporter on that game, and she told me that students have been camped out since 9 p.m. on Monday night at Nittanyville. They're dealing with rain and temperatures below 50 degrees. There's such commitment from that fan base.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. That is a passion there that is spectacular. Hutterson has come in as Bradwell had to replace a bad wheel. His shoe left him, but he gets a first down. The run game right now for the Green Wave, Kelly, is surprising me a little bit how they're just pushing Memphis all over.
Yeah, that initial drive of this game when they went down almost 6 minutes and 11 plays and scored was the most efficient and most effective drive I saw on tape all year out of this group. There isn't any doubt about it. But Willie Fritz, remember, back at Georgia Southern, it was the triple option offense out of the gun. And when he starts arriving at that here, it's going to be something special.
Well, that drive was their first opening touchdown drive of the season. And another handsome gain there of at least 4 yards. So it'll be 2nd down and 6 coming up.
And you can play along at home with what Jonathan Banks has to do. If you watch the offensive line, you'll be able to tell whether it's a power play where linemen are pulling or whether it's a zone play up inside. And Jonathan Bank has to read both of them. And typically, he's reading the in man on the line of scrimmage. It can be an outside linebacker or a defensive end. And you tell me what he should do. If he gets attacked by that player, he gives the ball up quickly.
We would have you tweet it to Kelly, but Kelly, alas, is Twitterless.
Not there.
Yeah, so we can't do it that way. Banks is going to keep it this one and slide short of the first down, but a wise decision. It'll be 3rd down and 2 coming up.
And see, Dave, that's the other part of decision making. In the RPO system, that time he kept it to throw the football and nothing was there. So the great decision is to use those legs, which Willie Fritz wants you doing more of anyway. So many times when a quarterback runs it, it's because he made a good decision, and that was a good decision.
High snap, quick handoff. Bradwell very close. Now, one official at the top of your screen has marked it as a first down and is already indicating move the chains. Lindsey and Perry were in there on the stop. Josh Perry, number 4 for Memphis, getting the start with LaAndre Thomas out of the game. There is a good look at Josh, but it's a first down.
Right in line with us up in the booth, Darius Bradwell, I think, just penetrated that line to gain, and it was a good job by Bradwell of not dancing around but realizing what he needed to get to.
And I don't see a punter out for Tulane at all here.
No.
Straight ahead. Oh, it's going to be a first down, and it's going to be 6 points. Touchdown, Darius Bradwell. $53 yards, and the Green Wave into the end zone again.
Yeah, Memphis's offense forces you as your own offense to take risks, and this is right into your kitchen. It was a very good read once again, a simple zone read up inside, and Banks gives the ball away, and Bradwell knows what to do with it. High risk and high reward, right?
Love the decision. Everything has to come together for you to score the upset. You got to gamble sometimes too. This worked out perfectly. This one's pretty cool. Tulane now 14-7. We've had nothing but explosive plays, it seems like. The last 2 touchdown runs have added up to 100 yards in touchdown runs.
Here's the game in a nutshell. Tulane has run 18 plays and they have 14 points. Memphis has ran 1. And time of possession doesn't matter in Memphis, 12 seconds. Tulane needs to possess it all night long.
And here's Henderson with the kickoff return attempt. Let's see how far he goes here. he is actually averaging about the same in kickoff returns as he is in yards per carry. We don't. And there you see Darrell Henderson. Nobody in FBS has more than 5 40-plus plays so far. And he busted his 8th a little while ago. That's Will Harper, number 25, is being helped off the field after being shaken up on that kickoff. He is a starting nickel defender for Tulane, so they're going to have to go to the bench. And Henderson, of course, we'll see how long this drive is. Might as well go to him one more time. Henderson will get almost 5 yards, so he kind of got bumped into the traffic as we check in again with Olivia Decker.
Guys, another thing that quarterback Brady White said is that they always feel like they can score on the next play. I'm sure they felt like that on the first drive when they have Henderson. He's so explosive, like we've already seen. And then Coach Norvell said about him, he's a pass receiver as well. It's what makes him a complete back. Hardest working guy.
Yeah, he has 6 catches on the year right there, and a perfect slant delivery. Taking off is John Williams, and Pop is tripped up at the 37-yard line with a touchdown-saving tackle by Donnie Lewis Jr.
And as much as we're talking about Darrell Henderson, this is what comes next. It's a constraint play. It's really a play action that disguised in an RPO, and you pull it and you throw it to a big play Williams.
And a great start for the first quarter. We've had big plays all over the field here at Benson Field, Yulman Stadium on the Tulane campus on a Friday night in the American. Thank you for joining us tonight. ESPN College Football Primetime presented by Hulu. And a great first quarter. Tulane opens 3rd down and 15 from their own 43. With Henderson as the tailback. That's the first time that he has targeted someone other than Mooney. It's Charles Jones II making his return after been in and out of the lineup. Redshirt senior out of New Orleans. It's a very short game. It'll be 4th and long. And
really classic defense. And what Chris Ball, the defensive coordinator of Memphis, elected to do is kind of an amoeba front. Everyone is standing up. The question is who's coming. And the offensive line don't really feel comfortable with their landmarks when you have moving targets. It was an overload from the quarterback's right side. You force a quick throw, you tackle the guy, and you force a punt. Well done defensively by Memphis.
First time we've seen Ryan Wright today, freshman punter from San Ramon, California, kicking to John Williams. A wobble on this. Williams calls for the fair catch, and with the Tulane defender right in his face mask, makes the catch at the 15-yard line. Handoff, Bradwell, and he'll get it about 2 or 3 years. We check in with Olivia.
Guys, more on the Penn State-Ohio State game. The Penn State defensive coordinator, Brent Pry, says his defense is, you know, they're so young. They have to have eye discipline with Ohio State's dynamic offense and Dwayne Haskins. They'll be relying on pretty much their one veteran, and that's Marcus Allen, the safety. But offensively, James Franklin says they have to win the contested catch battle because explosive plays will not come from scheming them up. So it should be a good one.
Oh, there's no question. I think a lot of eyeballs will be on that one. Seems less interesting matchups tomorrow, as there always are. But now you got conference play getting into here, like this matchup tonight. On the run, Banks with a completion right at the marker.
You know, when Banks is decisive, this time it's to Jabril. Blue is outside, starts inside, and then just twirls back out to the sideline. But when Banks is decisive, he has a really, really neat skill set. He's a big-bodied quarterback. I think what sets the table for him somewhat emotionally is running the ball effectively early. When he does that, it seems like everything else kind of settles into place for him.
Fake to Henderson. Banks under some pressure, being chased and caught from behind by Bryce Huff. The junior from Mobile, Alabama, now 4 sacks on the season.
Bryce Huff was actually blocked initially by Tyler Johnson, and he just blows past him, and that's one of those areas that Jonathan Banks just did not see. Coming from the backside, you could see Banks's focus was clearly to the right side, and you don't know what's coming from behind, and in this case, it was Bryce Huff with that pressure.
When do you know there's pressure coming from the side you can't see? When they hit you, or can you actually feel it or hear it?
No, you hear it before you feel it, and you never see it. And sometimes you hope you can feel it early enough to get rid of it, but it rarely happens.
Banks fakes once, fakes twice, going to take off. And he's brought down to the 47-yard line. He's got close to 30 yards rushing, maybe a little bit more than that on there. Banks as a receiver, come back to the ball, and despite the best efforts of T.J. Carter, a solid catch made that time by Jacob Robertson coming back, and it's another first down for the Green Wave, and we're running out of time in this half.
And coming back was what Robertson did effectively. It's just a stop route, but you got to work back to your quarterback. It's called working back down the stem, which is essentially turn, pivot, and come back toward the line of scrimmage on a straight line, because T.J. Carter, number 2 for Memphis, their shutdown corner, had really good coverage. Well thrown, and the route made that play right there by Robertson.
And then I hate to admit it, but I could do about an hour and a half on it. In the meantime, Memphis is going to get a big sack here. Banks was wiped out. Bryce Huff again. Joseph Dorcius was in there. Huff has been a menace in the last few minutes for this Memphis defense. One correction, both teams have 2 timeouts remaining as Darius Bradwell gets the handoff. Bradwell, 35, makes a couple of great moves and gets to the 30. And this leaves an interesting decision here for Willie Fritz. A 21-yard gain for Bradwell. Do you try the long field goal, or do you just go for it here, keep it going, 3rd down and 3? You're in 2-down territory.
Correction, 3rd down at the 31.
One way to solve it, get a first down with Jones, and he's done that.
Yeah, you wanted Jones to get out of bounds after he gets the first down, so you keep intact your 2 timeouts, and you still have 23 seconds, and you just penetrated the red zone. I mean, you have all kinds of time. With 2 timeouts, you can play the middle of the field as you desire in that option game, which Jonathan Banks has been so effective at tonight, is squarely on the table right here.
By the way, Darius Bradwell already has a career high in rushing. Banks will keep it, and he's in big trouble. He's got to get out of bounds, and he knew it. He actually picked up a little bit of yardage there. And Bryce Huff again was chasing him.
That was a really good athletic play by Jonathan Banks. That was destined to lose probably 7 yards, and you have to burn one of your timeouts. Instead, you only burn about 7 seconds, and your quarterback preserves both timeouts and gets out of bounds.
13th play of the drive coming up. Memphis is a double-digit favorite in this game. They're down 7, could get worse. As Stephon Henderson gets to the 15, gets to the 10, gets to the 5. Big collision at the goal line. He's going to be marked out of bounds just shy of the goal line with 7 seconds remaining.
Zone run inside once again. A good decision by Jonathan Banks, and Henderson breaks it outside. And the question is, does he get in and penetrate that end zone line before he goes out of bounds? So it's, if anything touches out of bounds, it's where the ball is at that point in time, and that's going to determine whether this is a touchdown or not. I thought first blush it looked like Henderson got in.
They are 7 seconds, and Tulane will go for it here. Power formation. Wow! Huff again ruining the play. And an immediate timeout called by Tulane. Now we have 4 seconds remaining.
And Dave, you ask what you do right here. Well, that's what you do. You take one gash at it with timeouts. And Bryce Huff just blew this play out because he didn't have to worry about the quarterback, Jonathan Banks, anymore. What had slowed Huff down was Banks potentially running the football on a quarterback read situation. And that particular time when the quarterback's under center and you pivot into the runner, there really isn't, unless you have a naked boot, which is possible. Bryce Huff was just going to go right after the potential ball carrier.
So they've elected to go with Merrick Glover, who will have a little bit of a weird angle, but a 20-yard field goal. I think I mentioned last year at the top of the show an upset over Houston here in Yeoman Stadium, and they took a 10-point lead in a halftime against the Cougars. If this goes through, they'll have a 10-point lead at halftime against the Tigers. He had a little hook on that, and he drilled it. Perfectly done. And that will be the end of a bit of a surprising first half. Memphis, a double-digit favorite. They go 15 plays, 71 yards in 6:56 on that drive. And the Green Wave going to the dressing room. Back to the studio and Adnan Vert for the halftime report after these messages. Welcome back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hulu. And a very interesting first half. Tulane doing what they need to do to score the upset and win here at home in this American opener for the Green Wave against Memphis, who has already lost in conference to Navy in Annapolis. Ironically, in rainy conditions, what we have here in New Orleans. With Kelly Stauffer, Dave Lamont, we'll hear from Olivia in just a moment. But everything has fallen into place for Tulane in this half, and they're getting exactly what they wanted from Jonathan Banks, basically by telling him, if you don't do it, you're out.
Exactly. Competition has really stirred that young man's blood, and we gave him the template at the start, right? Possess the football offensively if you're Tulane, and create some havoc defensively. Banks has been outstanding. This is literally the first play of the game, and he's made great decisions in the run game. Some of it by design, some of it impromptu, but the result has been absolutely stellar for Tulane. And then it doesn't hurt anything if you give it to Darius Bradwell, who gashes for 55 yards. That's the template. Play keep away from Memphis's high-octane offense, and defensively Tulane has held up extremely well also.
And the opening kickoff is going to be a touchback. Let's check in with Olivia Decker, who caught up with what I would imagine be a very happy Tulane staff.
Coach, we know how effective that Memphis offense can be. What are you guys doing well to get him off the field?
Well, we had a bust on the first play, but we're doing a nice job of tackling and trying to keep leverage on number 8. He's a great back, and we just can't let him get into space.
On the other side of the ball, you told us we may see both quarterbacks, but so far just Jonathan Banks. How do you evaluate his half?
He's done a pretty good job. There's a couple times he missed a few reads, but he's done a pretty good job.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, Olivia, thank you. Typical coach. He's done okay.
He went back to the first play of the game.
That's going to be, looks like the ball hit the ground, incomplete. Coxie was the intended receiver. Memphis barely got any offense in that first half. This is not the Tigers have one of the best offenses in the country. Only 16 plays in that first half, and the 17th was an incomplete pass. Well, here's a fake to Pollard. Now White's going to keep it, going to go down and take the underneath pattern, and that's going to be completed for a first down. That was a wild look before Pop Williams ends up getting it. That was a, let's see, if you had a run pass option, I don't know what you'd call
well,
that.
This is a fake reverse, and it was a good adjustment because Williams wasn't the primary receiver. The big tight end Magnifico was, and he was covered well on that play.
Going to dump it off to Henderson here, and he's going to be brought down after picking up about 3 yards on the play.
So many times on those gadget plays, the quarterback says, oh, I can't wait for this thing to be called. I am going to rip this one deep, even if it's covered. And Brady White did a very good job of coming to a secondary option on a trick play. That's really, really good stuff by that young man.
White going to take his first real deep shot for Pollard, and Pollard could never really find the football. And so now going to be 3rd down and 6 coming up.
Yeah, it's too bad that Brady White didn't give Pollard a chance because he was covered by the safety, P.J. Hall. And P.J. Hall, they got kind of tangled up and he fell down. If you just put it in bounds, give your receiver an opportunity, Pollard has the ability to take that one deep.
Only 25% success for the Tigers tonight on 3rd down. Great job by White. That pocket collapsed. He made room for himself, and that's going to be a first down on a tremendous catch by DeMonte Coxie. He's having a terrific season. The redshirt sophomore, a Louisiana native, one of a dozen Louisiana natives on this Memphis team.
White keeping it alive, and then Coxie going up tall. He's 6'3" and is kind of emerging as that go-to receiver, but he climbed the ladder on that high throw by Brady White.
That's his first catch of the night, 24th on the season. Fake to Henderson. White pitching it again. Ooh, look out. That's the kind of play where you used to see receivers really get banged up, and now a flag does come flying in.
Well, Roderick Teamer was the safety that was lowering the boom on the receiver, but I think his strike zone was fine. I think this might actually be on Memphis. Certainly not a targeting call is what I could see on that aggressive hit by Tabor.
There's no foul for targeting. The contact was legal.
There you go, and it stopped right away. Rogers Redding is here. Rogers, what did you see?
Yeah, that was, it looked like it might have been at first, but then you could tell that he just doesn't get in the head neck area, so this is not a foul at all. I'm glad they picked this up. It's always good to talk about, but you can see from the replay that he just doesn't make any contact to the head and neck area at all, so that's a good no call.
Henderson is back in. He will get it here, but again, it's just not happening. Other than if you missed the beginning of the game, you missed a spectacular 47-yard run by Darrell Henderson. But ever since then, it has been really quiet. And this Tulane defense, giving up almost 500 yards total so far this season per game, has held him to 7 yards in his last 5 carries.
And if Tulane is comfortable committing guys to the front to stop Darrell Henderson, then they can match up outside, and that's what you're seeing defensively out of Tulane currently.
Henderson lines up in the slot on this 3rd down and 9. Going to go line. He got past the defender. He makes a great adjustment on the football. What a play by Henderson. I believe earlier tonight, Kelly, you called him a complete back.
Yeah, and that's what a complete back does. He goes out wide, matches up against the linebacker and Zachary Harris, and then makes a tremendous adjustment on the ball. That was actually Keys, the corner outside. So he's running a route on a corner out wide on the perimeter, makes a tremendous adjustment, contorting his body, and finishes the play. That young man has a great future at the next level when he gets done playing for the Memphis Tigers.
Well, he has both the Memphis touchdowns, a 47-yard run, and now a 43-yard hookup with his quarterback, Brady White. What's the old Sports Center line? You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. He has done it again. The most explosive player in the country right now is Darrell Henderson from Memphis. That looked like Memphis on that drive. Now the Green Wave going to have to counter. Amari Jones will take the kickoff return. A little bit of a hole opening up for Jones. A little bit of a hole opening up indeed. He'll get outside, maybe to all the way to the 36-yard line before he's brought down by Thomas Pickens.
Number 11, Amari Jones on the return from the 1-yard line.
Take a look at what Henderson means to this offense. All the things he leads the nation in. It's unbelievable. That was going into the game. Never mind the damage he's done tonight. 54 yards rushing. Now that rushing average has dipped a tiny bit. Got 9 rush touchdowns. It's just absolutely unbelievable.
But when the rush dips, you put him outside by design like they just did. Memphis, you move him around. You don't take him off the field. You just find out how to get your playmaker the football. And in that case, it was a vertical route outside.
Jonathan Banks comes out firing, goes on the out pattern. Tackle broken. Getting close, but just a little shy of the first down is Taron Ancalan, the redshirt senior, a Louisiana native. Looks like he's going to be a yard short, 2nd and 1 coming up.
And Dave, when you play Memphis and what Memphis's offense presents, it's incessant pressure. You have to constantly respond. And the question now in the second half is, can Jonathan Banks and this Tulane offense, who played their best half by far in that first half in this game, can they answer back time and time again in the second half?
Look at this full house backfield here with Hudson and Bradwell and the tight end Jones. Going to go right up the gut. First down, Stephon Hudson. He'll get out to the 48-yard line. So what you're saying is Memphis's offense puts pressure on your offense.
Yeah, it's not unlike playing a Navy as an example. The opposing offense, playing a Navy offense, realizes that we expect less touches going into the game. And so inherently, as an offensive player or play caller, you think we have to do more with less. And it kind of puts pressure and kind of could get you out of your comfort zone. Well, in this second half, Tulane needs to stay in their comfort zone, which is running the football effectively like they did in that first half.
He'll stay on the ground, Bradwell. Sort of disappeared. He's in there somewhere. Got about a yard and a half on that. Man, just shy of midfield. Bradwell staying into the tailback position. Junior out of Tallahassee. He's having a career night of 105 yards and a touchdown. Banks. That's going to be incomplete. Almost. Coverage that time to Robertson, who was defended by Francis. So now you're looking at 3rd down and 8.
Yeah, and we saw that same concept in the first half where Robertson, remember when he worked that back down and had a really good route, worked back down the stem, and well thrown by Banks. That was the same thing going the opposite direction, and Jacob Robertson just didn't finish the play there. That was pretty well thrown up at the face mask and went right through Robertson's hands.
Tulane 5 out of 8 on 3rd downs. Handoff, Bradwell. Not enough. He'll be 4 yards short. Austin Hall, Thomas Pickens, I should say, number 40 in there on that. Make that Hall 25 on the stop. And
okay, Willie Fritz.
4th and 4.
A gain of 4 in the play.
You want the upset? You want to get off to a good start in your conference? You want to make a bowl game?
In the first half, remember that 4th down, it was only 1 though. There's a big difference between 4th and 1. Tulane went for it in that first half and had a huge play by Bradwell, and now it's 4th and 4. That's a different animal, but I need to see my quarterback, Jonathan Banks, carry the football again soon.
You take a shot instead. Overthrown. Memphis is going to get great field position. Carter in coverage that time against Ancala. They went after the best corner cover for the Tigers and come up empty. Memphis down 3, and it feels like they may be wrestling control of this game in the 3rd quarter. A little glass blowing for you here from the Waldenberg Art Center and the Pace Wilson Glass Studio. The largest collegiate glass blowing studio in the South.
I would like to learn how to do that. How about this offseason, you and I take a glass blowing class together?
Let's do it in New Orleans.
We could do that.
I'd love that. That'd be the perfect summer vacation.
Beignets until we can't see straight on top of that.
Now I'm definitely booking it.
Roger
Henderson
Redding is now in with us on that too, since I mentioned beignets.
Yeah, he says the first round of beignets is on him. In the meantime, this Green Wave defense facing a significant challenge comes up huge.
And that was the adjustment, is we feel comfortable matching up outside on wide receivers, so let's just be physical and aggressive in the tackle box, and Tulane has been successful at doing that. That time Zachary Harris blew that play up.
And a loss of 3, so now, and then again the play is ruined. Before it even gets started, Cameron Sample steps up with a sack back to the 35-yard line. And it's 3rd down, as the old expression is, forever.
Well, Drew Kaiser was the center that was the personal escort after the fake to lead Brady White outside, but Cameron Sample was having none of it. And if you're the personal escort for the quarterback, you need to know where the quarterback is, and that wasn't real good spacing. And the defensive end, Sample, just said, hey, you know what, I'll go ahead and tackle this guy since you're not blocking for it.
That was a big play offense, though, Memphis. Henderson's in the slot again. Going to go underneath. That's coaxing, and that will get nothing, and he will get finished off. Once again, Zachary Harris is involved in the play, and then Robert Kennedy came over to finish it off. But Harris, number 40 for the Green Wave, is having a tremendous game tonight.
Yeah, Harris was in on that, and so was Roderick Teamer. I think the 2 best defensive players for Tulane. And what you have to do on that kind of wave screen, that tunnel screen, throw it out wide, and that receiver's going to work back in and catch the wave of 2 linemen pulling out there. You have to keep leverage. Tulane did that.
Well, remember this moment in the game. Tulane here can manage this punt, and they're going to pick up about 4 or 5 very hard-earned return yards that time by Robertson. But it looked so good for Memphis after the takeover on down. Such great field position, and the Green Wave defense held. Memphis lost their American opener in Annapolis on a rainy day to the Naval Academy. And for the Green Wave, after having a tough trip to Columbus, Ohio a week ago, they are battling another explosive offense, holding them down in their American opener. Jonathan Banks rolling, firing, receiver open, and back into Memphis territory goes Taron Ancalat. Let's check in with Olivia Decker.
Guys, this Memphis defense has seemed to get new life after halftime from comments and the demeanor that I've observed this quarter. A lot of that is defensive coordinator Chris Ball. He told us he loves being positive with these guys. You've got to say something positive before you say something negative. The worst thing you can do is degrade a player before sending him back out. I've observed that from him, but don't worry, he has a couple position coaches to do the more chewing out. They want a turnover, guys, though, and this turnover robe is clear and ready for takeoff if someone can get one.
Banks didn't see anything he liked downfield. He's going to be stopped just shy of midfield. Wilson in there again, number 38. Picked up 3.
Tulane was trying to take a shot that time. They had 2 receivers in Mooney and Ancalat going down the field, one on a vertical route outside and another on a post, and nothing was there. And so once again, typically when a quarterback makes a good decision, in this case you see it in Jonathan Banks' feet. We've seen that theme here tonight.
Look at him limping around a little bit though, Kelly. We saw a few seconds ago him stretching the right leg.
Yeah, his right calf I think is stoking up on him a little bit, and he took a shot on that last play. He's got to call a timeout and get himself together. Yeah,
he is hobbling a little bit, so they're going to burn a timeout. Interesting to see if he's going to come back after this timeout, or is number 12, Justin McMillan, whom we talked about, Olivia mentioned at the top of the broadcast, was certainly in line to play if Banks didn't play well. McMillan may get that shot. And Justin McMillan is going to come out. The former LSU quarterback, transferred in August, barely got to Tulane before the season started. Got in a couple of passes against Ohio State near the end of the game last week. He is in now for at least this play with Banks on the sidelines. He's got Bradwell as his tailback, and he's facing 3rd and 7.
Pressure's coming.
Left-hander gonna fire. Got his man Mooney. Mooney's got some room to run. 25. Mooney in a foot race. He'll win it. Touchdown, Tulane. Well, he's 3 for 3 now, Kelly.
And he has a whip. The defensive tackle, Jonathan Tate, is going to absolutely lower the boom on the lefty. But the lefty stands in there, does Justin McMillan, gets rid of it just in time because number 3, Mooney, is completely uncovered because of the pressure they were trying to get on the quarterback.
Well, you couldn't have foreseen that coming. What a way to finish the quarter.
What a splash play by Justin McMillan. Comes in under duress. Is going to get hit upside the head, by the way. The pressure comes, and Justin McMillan, the smooth lefty, gets it outside to a playmaker, Mooney. And as a quarterback, you take the heat, you get to react the way you want.
Coming up on the Ocho, Zorbing. 50 yards. Yeah, you know what? I think instead of the turnover beads in the robe, the turnover Zorb.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And our leader in the control center, Brian Boyle, talked about his trip to New Zealand. A good rule of thumb is to make sure what you ingested the night before, either in food and or adult beverages, because it may not go well if you don't rein that one in. I think that's wise words.
Tulane coming off that enormous touchdown, and they got to run now. A hesitation that time by Darrell Henderson on the kickoff, and instead of the 25-yard line and a touchback, they're going to start at the 10-yard line. White slings it low and incomplete, trying to get it to Tony Pollard. Now we've been keeping an eye on the Tulane sideline, and there you see Jonathan Banks trying to stay loose. He's played a very solid game, but his replacement comes in for one play and throws a 51-yard touchdown pass. Well, that was tough. White hung in there trying to get it to Williams. 3rd down and 10 coming up.
The D coordinator for Tulane is just absolutely teeing off on this Memphis offense, bringing as many as he wants because he feels very comfortable with the matchups on the resulting man-to-man on the back end. That time Brady White, it was an RPO. He pulled it correctly, but then he throws with the guy flashing in his face. That isn't easy to do. Led to an errant pass on the other end.
This is an unbelievably un-Memphis-like performance in the Mike Norvell era for sure. Barely over 200 total yards. White, look out here! That could be a fumble. It is ruled a fumble on the field, and we are going to get a safety.
We're also going to get the turnover beads as this holds up, and I believe it will. It didn't look like Brady White's hand was coming forward. And that ball was clearly out. We talked about the defensive coordinator, Jack Curtis, is just teeing off on this Memphis offense, and so far, so good. This one results in a safety. We talked about the fact that Tulane is not bashful about loading up right now on Memphis. Maharis is the number 44, the defensive end, that's actually going to get this pressure and forces the ball loose. And even though right tackle Rogers Joseph from Memphis jumps on this ball, I want some fine print in the turnover beads.
Yes, I think they should come out because they're getting the ball back. It's not technically a turnover.
You get 2 points defensively.
Yep.
Those turnover beads need to be worn by somebody.
That's the first safety for Tulane as Jones picks it up at the free kick. And it's going to get excellent field position from this to the 40-yard line. The first safety for the Green Wave since October 11, 2014, when they got UConn for a 2-pointer. I've personally seen them score over 70 points twice.
Through 3 quarters, 55, almost 56 plays, and tonight it's 30. That's amazing. What an effort by Tulane defensively.
There is still time. They got to get the ball back. Dauphine will pick up 8, and now we do check in with Olivia Decker.
Guys, the big thing with these turnover beads, you only get to keep them if you win the game. So there were a couple guys who had turnovers in the Wake Forest game, but unfortunately, I'm still wearing them. But they have plenty to go around, so they're still hoping to get some players in one now.
Why do I think that those are going to...
Christmas bulbs. Those aren't beads at all. Does Olivia know that? That came off someone's Christmas tree.
And guys, they're an homage to New Orleans. It's the 300-year anniversary of the city, so it just made sense for them to go with these.
Those are enormous.
They are.
Tasteful and understated, much like the city. McMillan staying in a quarterback, by the way. And another first down for the Green Wave.
This is the interesting decision by Willie Fritz to go with Justin McMillan, and he probably has to right now because Jonathan Banks is nicked up a little bit, but McMillan is not the runner that set the table in that first half with Jonathan Banks at quarterback. And so, you know, he's a transfer from LSU, didn't play, and he can sling it. I was watching him during warm-ups, and I love to watch a lefty sling it, and he's as smooth as it gets left-handed, and you could see it on that touchdown pass to Mooney earlier.
Mooney goes in motion here, and the handoff straight ahead. Nothing doing that time. It'll be 2nd down and 10 coming up. McMillan is a 2-time state champion from Texas. He's from Cedar Hill.
So you lose something in the quarterback keep run game, and I believe you gain something in the quarterback pass game. But Willie Fritz is all about the quarterback being a willing runner, and I have to see McMillan keep the football in order to make a decision about that part of his skill set.
Well, he has minus 19 rushing yards to his name, but those were sacks and tackled behind the line of scrimmage in the Ohio State game. He's willing to go here, and he won't get far. Driven out of bounds, so 3rd down and about 8 coming up. Lindsey, number 22, helping out the defense that time.
And that was a good read by Justin McMillan. The defensive end jumped the running back on that quarterback read, and the quarterback jumps outside, but there wasn't the same juice on the edge that we saw out of Banks prior to that run right there.
So do they stay on the ground? They do have the explosive Corey Dauphine, number 6, in the backfield next to McMillan. It will be Dauphine trying to get to the edge. Plays off a block. Dauphine, if he gets around the corner, he is really fast. 15, 10, forget about it. He's going to score. 46 yards for Dauphine. His average coming into the game was 11.6 per carry.
Dauphine obviously has the speed, and Darnell Mooney outside has a great block out on the edge, but that's where you want Dauphine. You want him going to the edge and then using his speed. We saw him earlier jump up inside in the tackle box, and that's not where you want that kind of top-notch speed in college football.
We've had 5 plays tonight over 40 yards, 3 of them by the team that is not known to be as explosive. It's Tulane with another explosive touchdown, and they have blown this one open in the 4th quarter. Yeah, this is more Kelly's speed.
Yeah, I was going to say, those are burgers, and that's a root beer float. And none of that lived in the swamp last week.
No, none of that did. That's just down, that's Ted's, it's just down the road from where we are. Those are some healthy looking fries there too.
Alligator cheesecake. I wonder if Olivia has finished hers yet.
Yeah, that burger was for her. So she's doing okay tonight. In the meantime, this is just a stunning result. This was a double-digit point spread, 15 in favor of the visitors tonight. And it's been all Tulane on a 16-0 run. Here is Tony Pollard at last returning a kick. And Tulane, they said they would kick to him. And they have done just that.
Now, Memphis, 198 total yards, only 39 rushing. Are you kidding me?
Well, they're not going to get any here. They're going to drop back a couple on that because that goes off the rushing stats. Brady White is sacked.
I'm going to be straight up with you, Dave, because you're my friend and I won't lie to you. I didn't see anything like this out of Tulane defensively in the tape that I was watching leading up to this game. I am shocked that they have matched up so well in skill set in this matchup that's on the field currently.
That's the 4th sack by this Green Wave defense. Oh my, 5. Just enough from Robert Kennedy to take him down. He went through that like an apple.
No kidding. Robert Kennedy, our hidden talent tonight, or apple eater. I wonder how that's going. This actually looks a little bit like Olive Songapolu from Wisconsin. Blowing up people and then going and finding the passer with the football. We need to get that guy's friends right there, Robert Kennedy, to get on that, what do they call that thing, Twitter?
They call it Twitter, Kelly, yes.
Yes, they need to get on that and start voting. Right now, Olive is ahead by 60%.
Long throw. Coxie makes the grab. 24 breaks the tackle. Can he get to the first down marker? Boy, what a big hit from teamer number 2 to keep him short of the first down.
You kind of have to go for it right here, don't you? I think Mike Norvell doesn't even question it.
Now, time's running out. You're down to 10 minutes. You got to do something.
4th and essentially 3 yards, and this offense has lived doing stuff like this, but not here this evening.
You got Darrell Henderson in the slot, the lower part of your pick. Turnover on downs. Lewis was in coverage against Coxie.
That was the ultimate challenge by Tulane's defense. There was nobody deep. Everybody was within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, man-to-man across the board, and everyone else was loading up their hat in the box. This was going to be a back shoulder throw that didn't even have a chance. And that was your best cover guy, Donnie Lewis Jr., number 1, on the emerging go-to receiver, Coates outside. That ball didn't have a chance from the get-go.
Well, the Green Wave into position as McMillan stays out there as the quarterback.
Look at that. Look at those numbers tonight versus the season. I mean, wow.
Minimum gain there.
And now it's all about playing keep away and taking the air out of this one, which, oh, by the way, Tulane has been a master at doing that all night long.
Well, and that's Willie Fritz's career. It's taken the air out of games. I mean, his whole guy's won over 200 games in his 26-year career, 203 to be exact, at all levels of college football, practically. 279 yards rushing tonight for the Green Wave and counting. Big shift here by Memphis defensively. Not a problem. 6 more for Tulane.
coming.
Bradwell walking in. Kelly, I don't know what Memphis shifted into, but it didn't work.
No, and Memphis defensively is seriously considering cashing it in because of what Tulane is unleashing in that run game. And that's who Willie Fritz is throughout his career. Sam Houston State, we talked about it in Georgia Southern. It's the triple option or the double option out of the shotgun, and it's been lethal here tonight. Give credit to the guys up front on the line of scrimmage for Tulane offensively.
304 rush yards. Bradwell with 2 TDs tonight, 134 yards on the ground and only 15 carries. And they did it on both ends defensively. They get the turnover on downs and then bury 6 more on the board. One of the great streets in the world, Bourbon Street in New Orleans, part of the French Quarter. Fascinating, fascinating city. Right now, they could be celebrating the way their Green Wave is playing.
Wasn't the restroom haunted where you and Olivia and people went the other night?
Yes, the restroom at the restaurant we went to, Caban, apparently is haunted by someone named Lucille.
Well, and then the lady in the elevator said essentially every room, every house in this place has at least one room haunted.
Well, Memphis has to feel like they've entered a haunted house here tonight.
No doubt.
Darrell Henderson gets tripped up after a short gain. Unbelievably weak offensive performance by the Tigers in this game. And a lot of it having to do with Tulane. Here they come. Going after Brady White, who's going to take off, and he should have the first down here as he dives and makes it. He saw the open field, picked up a dozen there. Patrick Johnson was in pursuit.
You know, Dave, we gave insight into what it would take tonight at the top of the show, talking about Tulane is going to have to be aggressive, man-to-man, hold up in the 50-50 balls down the field.
After the first down scramble by White, he's going to have to scramble again. The field is open for him to take, and they're going to take him and hurl him out of bounds, and that's going to be a flag. No question. That's an easy decision for the official to make. That was Maharis and Moody were chasing him. It looks like Moody was the one.
After the play was over, personal foul, late hit out of bounds. Defense, number 44. 15-yard penalty added to the end of the run. Automatic, first down.
Yeah, this was well out of bounds. I think Moody's going to get flagged for it, rightfully so. Just didn't need that extra little throw to the ground at the very end.
The last thing you want to do is give Memphis even the slightest bit of hope by giving them 15 free ones, and that's what happened there. White, he's got a man open here, down to the 15, down to the 5, and inside the 5. Sean Dykes, the junior tight end from Houston, takes it in the red zone.
Sean Dykes is that hybrid tight end, and he runs the out and up, a wheel route in a sense, with the post clearing inside, and we haven't heard a lot from, in fact, that's the first time I've heard of Sean Dykes tonight. He's a hybrid tight end that runs routes usually in the middle of the field.
There's a run pass option for you, or a run pitch option, but it goes nowhere, so it'll be second down and goal. Yeah, Sean Dykes, that's just his 4th catch, but that's a famous name in football. Remember his uncle, Hartley Dykes.
Yeah.
Played in the NFL. Yeah. His dad, by the way, Billy Dykes, played at Oklahoma, so it's an unbelievable football family. Looking at Pollard. Touchdown, Tigers. 7:05 remaining in this one, and Memphis has cut it to 40-20.
Well, Dave, we were talking about why did Tulane call a timeout to talk to their defense. That's why. You could see that their defense, Tulane, was losing a little bit of focus, and their coaches did not like it. And this is what they tried to prevent, is kind of losing your edge at the end. It's a lesson in kind of act like you've been here before. Even though everything has gone extremely well tonight, you need to finish well and get into the locker room before you let your mind go a little bit.
I think from here on in, if you're Tulane, you have to expect an onside kick attempt coming up here from Memphis. even with all this time remaining in the game. It's Memphis is going to have to take some big gambles here to try to win possession back, down by 19. There's the onside kick, fielded expertly by Tulane at the 46-yard line. Very quickly grabbed there by Roderick Teamer. Willie Fritz has made gradual gains here at Tulane. This is his 3rd year. This is a big opportunity for them if they can get to a bowl game. What a boost it would be for this program.
Oh, yeah, and they're 1-3 coming into this one, and really feeling like they could have easily been 3-1.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, they took Wake to overtime.
Yeah, they let a couple get away, but literally inches kept them away from being a bowl team a year ago.
Yep, this is the effort. Did he get in? We'll never know. The ruling on the field was he didn't get in. The replay booth didn't have a chance to look at it. The clock ran out, and you could see the frustration. And understandably for Willie Fritz, he thought he had it. And they started hot last year, then they lost 4 in a row, then they got hot again, and 4 straight years without a bowl. Another timeout taken by Memphis, both teams now with 1 remaining. Olivia, what do you got for us?
Well, guys, there are 11 D1 schools. There are 11 D1 schools in Louisiana, and the granddaddy of them all is, of course, LSU. Well, Ed Orgeron's been doing something a little different to keep some talent in state. He's talked with every head coach from the 10 other schools to cancel some contracts with some satellite camps with some bigger ones. So Tulane, for example, had a contract with Michigan, but canceled and did a camp with LSU instead. So it sounds like it might just be good for LSU to keep the borders up around the state, but it's really good for these smaller schools. In fact, Coach Fritz here at Tulane told us they get to see plenty more kids that are good for their level, who want to be at these camps anyways. It gets their foot in the door. Some call Ed Orgeron the Pied Piper in this state, and he calls every one of these coach, asks what they need, asks what he can do for them. So it's a really interesting model.
It works, I think, in a state when you have one dominant college program. I don't think it would work in, say, a state like Florida, where everybody thinks they're the dominant program. But I think for here and some other smaller states, then that would be perfect. It's a great idea.
Are you saying Florida wouldn't play nice together? Is that?
I think I can say that with great
going?
security of being 100% right.
Yeah, it works well here. I think that's an interesting approach, but you're right. You have one king on the throne in that sense, and if you play nice together, you can all benefit from it. And certainly Ed Orgeron and LSU is in it because it benefits them for sure as well.
Bradwell bouncing off, getting out of bounds, close to the mark, but short by a couple of yards. Carter ran him out of bounds. The clock down to 5:11. Everything leaning toward Tulane. It could be a very significant win. In fact, I saw an article, I want to say it was one of the New Orleans papers, that said this is maybe the biggest game in Willie Fritz's tenure at Tulane tonight. So here on 4th down, but really with Memphis out of timeouts, essentially be the ball game. And didn't make it. So a turnover on downs. Bryce Huff, we haven't called his name in a while, but he comes up with another big defensive play. So Memphis has half a heartbeat here with 4:41 to go and the ball.
Does he get it or does he not, Dave?
Oh, and I don't think so, Kelly. I think he was clearly short.
Yeah, he was at least a yard short.
Yeah, easy decision for the officials that time to make, and an accurate one. So Brady White undoubtedly going to come out slinging. Darrell Henderson has just 7 rushes for 51 yards tonight. And one of those carries was for 47. Down the field and coming back, both the defender and the intended receiver going to be in complete. 2nd and 10 coming up. Keys in coverage that time against Dykes.
There you see the tight coverage once again, and it's been about Tulane challenging this really good group of receivers and playmakers for Memphis, but Tulane has won that matchup. Bump and run man-to-man, as we saw it. Keys right there, and he gets to the ball quicker than the receiver does.
So often, as you looked at that total yardage graphic, it's usually Memphis with the 500 yards, but not tonight. Nobody there. Receiver went one way, the ball went the other. Pollard went to the middle, so it's going to be 3rd down and 10 coming up.
That's what we've seen out of Memphis all night, and it's for a reason, because Tulane has pressured Brady White, and this receiving group has been, guys have been in their mustache all night long and playing bump and run man-to-man, chasing him down the field, and sometimes that makes an offense look extremely bad, and tonight Memphis has resembled that.
Well, Memphis will go home and they will host Connecticut next week, and then in 2 weeks they host UCF. White in a lot of trouble. Down he goes as a flag flies in. That's the 7th sack if it holds up.
Personal foul, illegal hand to the face, defense number 90. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic, first down.
So Robert Kennedy guilty there of a call I'm seeing more this year called against defensive players, Kelly, than I ever have before.
And Robert Kennedy has been one of those sources of pressure up inside from a defensive tackle position. If you can get pressure inside, preventing the quarterback Brady White from being able to slide up, and then you have edge pressure that's been pretty consistent. But yeah, absolutely. Up front is about working with your hands, and Robert Kennedy's hands just slide up a little bit. That happens from time to time.
White, look out, he almost Fran Tarkented his way into trouble, and down he goes for the 8th time. Juan Manjares again. This guy is a freshman, and he is sacked now twice, including one that led to a safety.
Well, and it's not fun to play quarterback when your run game is shut down and your receivers are being locked up and press man outside and inside on the slot. And then Tulane has nothing better to do on the defensive line of scrimmage than to tee off on the guy that's going to throw the football.
7th sack, not 8, is the official word. Coming back for the ball and broken up. The intended receiver there, Kadarian Jones, but well covered. P.J. Hall, the safety, the carry his keys, the corner, in there to break it up. 3rd down and 20 coming up. So it's 13 sacks on the year for Tulane, but 7 of them have come tonight.
Happy birthday to defensive coordinator Jack Curtis. That's what you get from your guys. You get 7 sacks, more than doubling their output on the season.
You can have a piece of alligator cheesecake with a candle in it.
Olivia has eaten all of that. There's none left.
Coatsy breaks a tackle, and then a turnaround and a great play made there defensively by Lewis to keep Coatsy from getting any additional yards. So it's now 4th down. And they're going to go for the field goal here with Riley Patterson. I guess, Kelly, the thought is get 3, and if you can somehow get 16 points out of 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions, you get a tie.
Yeah, that's all you have left.
But this is no guarantee at 43 yards. The rain has stopped. Haven't seen rain pretty much in this half. It's a little breezy. Patterson's a quality kicker, and the sophomore has his longest of the season at 43 yards. And Memphis 40-24 now with 2 minutes and a second to go with another onside kick pending. Memphis has churned out some incredible kickers over the last day. Stephen Gostkowski, Jake Elliott, they've all been Memphis standouts in the kicking position. So Patterson knows the drill here.
Strange things happen in this game, so stay tuned.
Well, life doesn't get all that easy for Tulane after tonight. They have to go to Cincinnati. And there's another well-handled onside kick by Tulane. And that time, Sanal comes in to make the stop on the ball. And so now, with Memphis out of timeouts, Tulane can just dictate the rest of this game.
Yeah, and I think Memphis now just says, let's go home.
Yeah, I think so too.
So now they're going to have to lick their wounds and get right once again.
This is an epic win for Tulane tonight. Our thanks to Rogers Redding too tonight for being here. Rogers, thank you so much for your interpretations. Love having you. It's a real treat. Thanks to our crew back at home as well, and all around New Orleans for everything they've done for us this evening. A significant victory for the Green Wave. Can this be the year they get off the bull schneid and they make an impact? Chris Ball, the defensive coordinator, a great friend of Willie Fritz, as he told us, showing some great sportsmanship as well. Final score for the final time. Tulane wins this one 40-24. My thanks to Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Decker, and this great crew. It was my pleasure to be in here tonight. Pac-12 women's college volleyball between USC and Stanford is next. We say au revoir from New Orleans.